Hello, and welcome to another episode of Myths and Stories, a Destiny 2 lore podcast. Today, we are continuing and presumably finishing up our Cayde-6 series, the Hunter Vanguard that is no longer with us, but might be with us soon. I say might be with us. He's definitely going to be with us, because if that little preview trailer has anything to say about it, he's definitely somewhere. Don't know where that where is. He doesn't even know where that where is. So, yeah. We talked about his life before he was a Guardian, because he's one of the few Guardians that does have lore before the collapse and before becoming a Guardian. Working with Clovis Bray, doing various tasks for Clovis Bray. Various tasks for Clovis Bray. Also had a little connection with Micah. The kid in our Penguins, covered in our Penguin series, Penguins of Europa series. So it was another neat little connection there. We're starting to see all these little. Destiny's very much has that spider web of stories where there's all these little interconnecting threads between each person, and I feel like that kind of leads to the name of Destiny. Like everything's tied together. But as far as Cayde's concerned, we've talked about him. We talked about his days with Andelbrask and his fire team. His taking on of Tannix, having to kill him multiple times.
Yes,
and still not succeeding. And then, of course, becoming the Hunter Vanguard and his role as the Hunter Vanguard. So today we're going to pick back up with Taken King, because that's kind of the next little big deal. There wasn't a whole lot of dealings specifically with Cayde and his personal life story in Vanilla D2, as well as Vanilla D1, as well as the two DLCs that came afterward. Most of that stuff was it's very generalistic, because Destiny was very much kind of a young game at the time, and nobody really knew it was going to get this big. And so, yeah, there's not a whole lot of going on there. Like, obviously, he's the Hunter Vanguard. He's stuck in the tower. He whispers at you every time you come by, and he, take me with you. Like, he doesn't want to be there. That's the very nature of a hunter. But yeah, so Myth, where are we starting at then with the Taken King stuff for Cayde?
Yeah, so we are going to start kind of at the beginning of the Taken King, because that's where Cayde was really the most prominent in the Taken King story. And he had some strike dialogues and things as well. But as far as where he was concerned for Taken King, where most people kind of had their introduction to him there, was acquiring the stealth tech to try and sneak onto the dreadnought with, which he had, if I recall correctly, he had stolen from Rasputin, or one of Rasputin's bunkers.
I think so. I think that's where he said he got it from.
Yeah. So he takes us through a little mission to get this stealth tech, and then there's the pretty infamous scene amongst those that were playing back then of they're all in the war room in the original tower, and it's Cayde and Ikora and Zavala are discussing the dreadnought showing up and kind of what they want to do about it. And Eris Morn comes in and floats her little rock, quote unquote, we know it's a Ahamkara bone, onto the battle map, and Cayde gives that whole get your rock off my map.
He has so many good dialogue lines. I love all his little lines.
He has great one-liners. So that scene plays out, and essentially it comes down to Cayde is the one that, without permission, because he never bothers, has us commandeer Eris's ship and use stealth tech to get as close as we can to the dreadnought, before eventually having to make an emergency ejection as the ship explodes. But we do make it onto the dreadnought, and the rest of Taken King kind of unfolds from our successful landing.
Yeah. Well, and that during that whole time, again, we don't get a whole lot with him. The most dialogue we get is that one scene, or the one mission of the stealth tech, and in that mission we actually learn a little bit about him. There's a I want to say there's one secret room or two secret rooms, and there's a card. There's like a playing card on the ground, and it's a scannable, and you can interact with it. And he says something to the along the lines of, um, "Oh yeah, the playing cards. I left them as mementos to myself of secret caches. Like hearts were hake and spades were Dido. I don't remember the exact which weapons were associated with which suits, but basically all that stuff. And then the one that he was looking at was Queen, and it was like, well, this is a sniper rifle, and this is a rocket launcher. So yeah, he's again he's the one guardian that like leaves little clues for himself
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. Like it's not just about his past; it's also about his present, about his little secret stashes of golden age tech and random stuff, or in this case, stealth drives that he stole from Rasputin. So yeah, it's that's very much the Hunter vibe. Is just being the stealthy little space cowboy.
Yeah. Uh, and so, the events of Taken King happen, and one of those being the kind of, for lack of a better term, decimation of the awoken people. Um, and Cayde is actually one of, if not the only member of the Vanguard and the Tower to really try and make a difference in the lives of the awoken that are left. Uh, he he had already had kind of a working relationship with Petra Venge. He had talked with her. She, had been in the tower as a liaison for a little bit. We talked about that in our Awoken series.
I think he likes
And
her on a personal level too.
yeah, they
That's
they
just me.
definitely. I think at the very least they were very friendly with each other. Um, over time, at least they developed a friendship.
That could just be me looking for love in Destiny, though. Like
You never
you
know.
know me. The whole Amanda and Uldren Crow thing is just set me off, and I'm just like, why? Why can't I get that this is like a big old universe, but please just give us a little bit of love.
Well, regardless of the intentions, they knew they got to know each other. They were on friendly terms. And Cayde really went out of his way to try and give some kind of support for the Awoken in the wake of the Taken King and the at that time presumed death of Marasov and most of the Awoken, you know, military. Um, and so we see a meeting that Cayde had attempted to facilitate, or he did facilitate a meeting that he was hoping was going to turn out to be a partnership between the tower providing support for the Awoken. And that is in the refusal card from the book, The Awoken of the Reef. I do believe we covered this in our Awoken series, but we'll do it again because it's relevant here as well. So this is between Petra, Cayde, and Zavala. And it goes like this. Petra has her welcome for Zavala all planned out. He'll say something stentorian, which, while it is technically a greeting, Petra will also read as a reproach or condensation or perhaps concern. Petra will smirk at Zavala like she really doesn't care, so that he knows he's nobody, a little guy, a bureaucrat far beneath her. As she mulls over their exact response, the hatch opens, and Cayde-6 backs his way through while still talking to Zavala. Look, whatever you've seen, whatever you've read, it's worse. These people need our... Cayde. Petra half-consciously adopts Mara's fey remove. Her insufficient and remote posture, her throat jams up, and she actually coughs aloud against the sudden grief. You brought And Zavala grinds his way into the room, an obelisk of city stone extruded across the solar system to invade Petra's space. He very politely answers Cayde before turning to her. The fact is, Cayde, the Queen did us a favor by leaving the reef in chaos. As soon as the fallen are here killing each other, we have room to rebuild. He now nods to Petra. Regent Commander, pleased to see you well. Likewise, I'm sure. Petra feels in her heart that the Queen saw the reef as a protector of Earth and its people, if perhaps not a protector of the traveler itself. It still kills her to hear Zavala speak openly of the reef as a distraction. Cayde has a proposal, she says, that he wanted us both to hear. Yes, I did. Cayde prances between them, like a flare meant to draw off the heat-seeking fury passing between the two. The city's fall drove him deep into his jester persona. Devil-may-care and fancy-free. He hasn't quite recovered. It's like this, Petra. We're bringing a lot of Earth's lonely people into the arms of the city. I got to talking to Varix about the situation out here, and I figured, hey, maybe it's time we extend that policy to you. He sobers a touch. I want to invite the reef into the city. Abandon this place to Varix, to Dead Orbit, to whoever wants it. It's hell out here, Petra. You won't survive. Zavala's eyes lock on Petra. He burns with a magnificent stentorian power. Does the Regent Commander have enough control over the reef to execute a withdrawal? Despite your best efforts, Petra snaps, and then suddenly she cannot stop. She's too furious, too fresh with grief. At least Cayde is honorable enough to acknowledge what you've done to us. Every fallen house you shatter washes up on our shores. Every hive god and cabal tyrant you attract goes through us to get to you. No wonder she couldn't stand the sight of you, Zavala. You've forsaken your people. She bites back the rest. How she wishes that back in 2000 and whatever, when the darkness hurled mankind off the height of its golden age to plummet 16 centuries into barbarism, it had done a slightly better job. That's not true. That's her broken heart talking. But oh, it talks loud sometimes. And we're going to end the reading there, because then it devolves into some other awoken politics that are not related to Cayde.
Fair enough.
But
yeah, so this one definitely shows like that relationship between Cayde and Petra, because like when Cayde stumbles off the ship at the beginning, it really does catch Petra off guard, and she's not really expecting, like, she's ready to deal with Zavala. She's ready to just be like, I can talk you down because I'm Regent Commander now. I'm head of the Awoken people. You're a blip on the map. You're nothing. But then when Cayde stumbles through, it's this whole like, what are you doing here? And it completely throws her entire plan and game off. Which of course then she at one point in time she loses her cool in it, and she's like, she's a little hot headed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, again, Cayde really was. It's hard to describe him, but I think this does kind of show how even with his like his is what they call the jester's what do they call it, the jester persona yeah, that he's
kind of donned.
Yeah. That even with that, he still is kind of like the glue that holds everything together. He's that little bit of lightheartedness that, like, the stoic Zavala and the very sad and angry Petrovenge would just almost be like an explosion of emotions there, and he just kind of like diffuses the whole thing with this little carefree attitude. So yeah, it's I like seeing scenes like this where we can see that that relationship happen and play out.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting also to show that, like, Zavala, at least at this point in time, thinks very little of the Awoken of the Reef. You know, if anything, they're a nice bulwark to have between them and the rest of the universe, kind of thing.
Sure.
Whereas
Everything has to go through the reef.
right, whereas Cayde is approaching this as a like they're fellow members of the system, like they're on our side. We should be helping them. Now, granted, they don't want to leave the reef, and we know they don't. They do end up, staying there, and then the Dreaming City and such. But at this point in time, like they're trying, Cayde's trying to be like, come, let us, come into the fold, come to the tower. He's kind of trying to do for the Awoken what we ended up doing ultimately for the Elixni.
Oh, sure, sure.
They're refugees
Yeah.
from this catastrophe, and Cayde's convinced they do not have the resources to defend themselves, and he wants to help them. And so he's approaching it from a much more, just in spite of his jokes and whatnot, he's approaching it from a much more like humanitarian standpoint. Whereas I think Zavala is purely like military strategy of, how can I get the most value as possible out of this other country, essentially, is how he treats them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's not too much that happens with Cayde in particular between the Taken King and the Red War itself, vanilla Destiny 2.
I was going to ask. I don't think he plays any part in any of the Rise of Iron stuff, and that's all his one of his fire team members does. We talked about that.
Yeah. Shiro 4.
Shiro 4. He's the not Hunter Vanguard.
He's one of the vendors.
Yeah.
And he's kind of the liaison at that time between the Vanguard and Saladin,
the remaining Iron Lord.
Yeah, the one
singular.
Yeah, so we do get to talk to Shiro a little bit, but he's mostly there as a vendor more than anything, and nothing of it is in regards to his relationship to Cayde or Cayde's story or any of that.
Sure.
So really where we see some more development with Cayde is when we start getting into the Red War proper. And
Destiny 2 vanilla.
Yeah, Destiny 2 vanilla. And I suppose it's worth saying, I guess, for those that may not be aware of exactly what happened and how it happened. The beginning of Destiny 2 Red War was the normal tower, and then the Cabal, they do the whole thing, and this is still up on YouTube somewhere, I'm sure. The cinematics,
I think, in the Bungie archives, aren't they?
Probably now, or will be, before too long.
For some reason, I remember a post saying something about they have everything up to Lightfall.
Oh, awesome! I didn't realize they're that far ahead.
For some reason, I remember that being in one of like the TWABs, or I guess now they're TWIDs.
Yeah.
I think everyone's still having a hard time with that one.
It's gonna take some getting used to.
But yeah, I think most of these cinematics are in the Bungie archives on their personal. I think it's just called Bungie Archive YouTube or
yeah. I think it's along those lines. But so the cinematic in general is, the Vanguard up in the tower in the war room. They realize that all their satellites have gone dark, and then out of the storming clouds comes the fleet of the Red Legion in all of its glory. And the very first act is to just missile the tower,
blow it up.
And Cayde at that point fires up Golden Gun and is literally shooting at ships with his Golden Gun from the war room. I don't know that he hits anything.
I was going to say, I've tried that in a strike. It don't do as much damage as you think it does.
Yeah. Yeah, those brigs are kind of tanky.
Hell, those threshers are freaking tanky.
But no, so this explosion happens at the top of the tower. Zavala tries to protect people with a bubble. Eventually that bubble is popped, is overcome, and it kind of scatters the people that were in there. Either they either potentially fell down, the tower to a different part of the city, or they got up, realized we're under attack, and went off to their various places they thought they would do the most good. And while they're off doing those things, one of the very first actions Gaul does is come in with his big net, his big light dampening device, and secure it around the traveler. And maybe 5-10 minutes after their initial invasion, they have now cut access to the light off, which was an experience none of them had had.
That's still an odd experience to me, the cutoff from the light, because again, when we think of the ghost, we use the ghost the way that the Elixni splicers use splicer gauntlets, and that's how we are able to channel the light.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I don't know. I guess I was a little confused on how that worked. And I know this isn't a light and dark series or anything like that, but like when Gaul cut off the light from the traveler, it was odd to me that the ghost didn't just look for other places, because like the splicers, they pulled it from, like, they talk about how you feel it through the planet's core, and light passes through all things, very much like a Jedi thing, right? Like you feel it, you feel the force within you and through you and all that. Whereas like with the ghost, it was very much like it seems like they are pulling the light from the traveler, because even when I think Savathun whisks the traveler away to her throne world, I want to say there was a slight disconnect there with Guardians outside the throne world, because I want to say Ikora mentioned something about it.
That the light was harder to access. And I think that's what it comes down to. It's not that they can't use the light when the traveler gets caged. It's just that the light they have access to, the just kind of radiant light energy that exists in the universe around them, is such a lower amount of power that it doesn't allow them to do a lot of things.
Kind of like a bowl of water. Like the water.
You have to explain that.
Sorry. I was thinking about it like you have a bowl of water. Well, I guess it'd be like a bowl of water underneath a water fountain. That would be the traveler. The water fountain is continually feeding the bowl, and the bowl is overflowing with light and feeding it out through the rest of it. As soon as I pull the bowl away from the water fountain, now that I only have the water that's in the bowl, I only have the light that's left there to readily access. And it's so much smaller than this overflowing fountain of light.
And if we want to follow that analogy, you have this bowl now, and the only way it gets refilled is from rainfall.
Yeah.
So like something that is naturally occurring, but it's so much less,
super far and in between.
When you're tapped into that larger energy source, because the ghost mentions like they can heal us. They can heal us back to near dead to not out of lethal territory, but they cannot revive us.
Yep.
And so this event happens instantaneously for all Guardians across the solar system, and it happened to Cayde while he was in the midst of this fight after the destruction of the tower, and we get to see a retelling of exactly what he was doing at that time, and a maybe unlikely friend, or you would think unlikely friend, that he was with at the time. So this is coming to us from the Solstice Mask from the Warmind Solstice event. And this is the Hunter helmet. I believe it's different for each class, so this is the Hunter helmet in particular. But this one goes like this. Now is not the time, Cayde. A sword strike. 41, Cabal down. On the contrary, my horned friend, Throwing knife, 36. Those red legions are burning down our house. The stakes have never been higher. Hand cannon, 37. Let's say 2,000 glimmer ahead. Ikora said red legion, you fool, and no. Sword strike, 42, 43. How about 5,000? I will not wager against you when our home. The light is gone. What is this? Cayde, what have you done to me? Another trick to win a bet we haven't made? Oh, I'm not feeling so good either. Cayde! No, you big ox, I can't. Can't you see it got me too? Look out! Sidearm, 38. The light is beyond my reach. My ghost is empty. A sword strike, 44. This means they need us. We should split up. Another throwing knife, 39. I'll sweep the streets. You take the 10,000. A sword strike, 45. These are the highest stakes. Another strike, 46. You want to bet? Let's bet. The only prize is our lives, for all time. Hand cannon, firefly explosion, 40, 41, 42. You're on. And that's the end of that one.
Yeah, Firefly. That's a good perk, man.
It is. So this is Cayde and Shax.
Okay.
Who are fighting in the streets amongst the Red Legion that are coming to invade. And Cayde is doing what Cayde does, and he's trying to make a bet.
Yeah.
He's trying to gamble. And Shax like, really? Now of all times?
Yeah.
And then the light gets cut. And
Instantaneous
originally
across the entire system.
Yep. And I think it's interesting. Originally, Shax is like, Cayde, are you cheating already for a bet we haven't made yet?
Okay. Well, and you got to remember the entry of like of Cayde looking through the archives.
The Lucky Pants?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
cheat, inquiry, cheat, crucible. Yeah. Yeah. If anyone were to cheat, it would be Cayde. But yeah, that's exactly what's happening. I imagine Shax with like Crown Splitter and just like splitting crowns.
Yeah, pretty much.
Kicking in teeth. I love that he's a sword user. That's what I am. So
yeah,
that makes me happy. So yeah. But even throughout the loss of the light, Cayde still is trying to keep that like that happy-go-lucky momentum going.
Yep.
And it's odd that Shax even kind of like plays it up too. Like as soon as Shax realizes what's happening, he's like, "All right, our lives there. That's the bet." Like,
yep.
I mean, that's the ultimate bet. So yeah, that's a pretty important bet, I would think.
Yeah, Shax, of course, is right at home at high stakes.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so we have that, and then we've got kind of some more entries on the fallout of this light cutoff after the initial battles, and kind of how it affects everybody, including Cayde, and what he decides he should be doing about it. So here we see more on that same timeline. This is the Solstice Grasps, the Hunter Gauntlets from the Solstice event. And they more or less pick up where that one left off. So this one goes like this. How many was that? I sort of stopped counting a while ago. Cayde's whisper is loud enough to be heard by any Red Legion nearby, but he'd solved that problem with 3 flashes of his knife in the last 2 minutes. His ghost does not respond. Never mind. You know, this would go a lot faster if I could draw him out somehow. Use something for bait. Something small. His ghost still does not respond. Not like you. Something without a big, glowy eye. Wait, shh, 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 shh. He ducks into the shadows. 2 legionnaires flanking a Goliath tank waddle past his hiding spot. No need to be a hero, he thinks. At least not a dead one. Not yet. 3 more blocks and we're in business. You sure we can still access the terminals? No response still. Ah, you're right. I shouldn't doubt you. Just because we haven't touched the light in 9 hours doesn't mean that you can't still, do your thing with the beam. But you're my last hope, little buddy. Zavala's going to take years to build up his big space fleet. Ikora is going to sit and stare at a traveler-shaped hole in the ground for too long. It's just up to us now. You with me? And finally, a whisper back. Always. That's the end of that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Losing the light was hard.
Yeah.
So yes, that's his ghost, Sundance, is his ghost name. And everyone's ghost during that time was very much like, shit, what the hell is happening to me? I can't access light. This is hard. But Cayde kind of reverts to his, like, I don't want to say like baser instincts, but his hunter instincts of like, hey, we can still do this with tech. Like, cool, the light's gone.
Yep.
Let's find some tech that can solve this for us. Like, there's always a solution. There's, like, as much as this sucks, and it would be so much easier to do with the light, Zavala is going to do what Zavala does, and Ikora is going to do what Ikora does, and that's very much what both of them did during the split up. Cayde's going to do what Cayde's going to do, and he's going to go search up tech, and he's going to try to figure out how can I tech my way through this problem and get to a solution where we either take down Gaul or get the Traveler unlocked or whatever the solution is. How do I tech my way through it? And of course, his little ghost just he poking him a little bit. He still has that kind of jester vibe going on. Like, it's to me, it's almost like a borderline between it's almost depression, right? Like, a lot of people talk about how when people are in a very deep depression, on their outer experience, their outer portrayal when they're in public is very lighthearted, very happy, very up, and then when something bad eventually does happen, everyone kind of looks and go, well, they were so happy. Like, what? How did this happen? And so that's like kind of, to me, the borderline is what's going on here. But I still think Cayde, in the back of his mind, I don't think he's like depressed through any of this, but I think there is that level of, hey, this is my last fight. Like, this could be my last fight. This is like, there's no light. I can't get rezzed. I can't just, shit. I missed a golden gun. Cool, Sundance, come get me, come pick me up. Like that's not going to happen. But he still wants to kind of, I think, feel that way and think that way. Because that's how I think he copes with it. And I think that's how he keeps moving forward and tries to find that solution.
No, I think that's very much it. Like, it's, if his options are, pretend it's all a big joke, or, be so destitute that you can't take the next step, then we're just gonna pretend like nothing's wrong.
Yep.
Fake it till you make it kind of thing.
Yeah. Very much so.
So, but he does continue his habit of writing journal entries even during this time, writing little notes to Ace as they're addressed, about like what he's thinking and what he's going to be doing next. And so we have one of those mementos from the wild, where, again, these are just little excerpts, but this one says, "So here I am again, Ace, back in the EDZ. I know. I said I would leave the shard alone, but there's just something about it. I'm not the type that goes fishing for answers, but it feels like this place holds them. Like the Traveler is trying to tell us something. But What am I talking about? It's probably just all these arc storms messing with my insides again. And that's the end of that little excerpt. So
Again, Cade looking to tech, like
yeah.
he as much, like, I mean, that's what we as the Guardians do. We first thing we do is go to the EDZ and say, oh, there's a shard of the Traveler there, maybe we can do something. And sure enough,
Mm-hmm.
there's enough light emanating from that shard that we're able to pull it out. So I mean, it's not hard to fathom that Cade would think the same thing. Like, hey, there's a chunk of it over there. There's got to be something there.
Yeah. And it's unclear if Cade got there after us and there just wasn't enough energy left to do more than one person. Restore
Well,
light to more than one
Well,
person.
and you remember when you do get it back in that little area that you're fighting the Fallen that come out, there are little puddles of light. So we presumably could be using it up as we're there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so there may not have been anything left for him to extract.
Yeah. And say, alternatively, he got there before us and I guess just didn't know how to do it. Or maybe you had to be like the chosen guardian or something. I don't know.
VIP 2014.
Yep. Yep. If that wasn't you, you weren't invited.
It's like access codes, right? Like if you're not VIP 2014, you don't have the right access codes. You're not getting the light.
No. No, but yeah, so regardless, he tries it. He tries the shard, but he has to give up on it. And he starts moving on to other ideas. So we see from another memento from the wild. He continues. I've tried everything, Ace. Tried re-rigging my ghost shell every which way, making a deal with Varix for one of his captured ghosts, even thought about following Ikora to Io, and then it hit me. I can end this real quick by hopping right on Gary's ship via some Vex trickery. So here I am. Nessus, my own little Vex playground. Here goes nothing. And that's the end of that little excerpt.
Yeah. That's again looking for another solution, and Vex are the greatest tech in the universe. I feel like, I, they build giant prediction machines out of planets. So I mean, why not go for some Vex tech?
Yeah, so he's specifically trying to find a transporter. And now I also want to point out the maybe hubris of this plan of, all right, I'm going to get a Vex portal and it's going to portal me onto his ship, onto Gaul's ship, and then I'm just going to win. Like, that's his plan.
Got to start somewhere, right?
I mean, yeah.
It does seem like a foolish plan.
I don't know if it's confidence or if it's just desperation, maybe a little bit of both.
Little both, yeah.
So he goes to Nessus because he knows that there's Vex there and presumably a low Red Legion presence. And so he's like, okay, that's the place I'm going to go to try and find this Vex tech. And we do find him there via the story, but before that, he meets the other denizen of Nessus, and that is Failsafe.
I love Failsafe. Failsafe is such an asshole, but I love her so much. Between her and Asher, I to me, honestly, those two are like my favorite assholes in all. I can't think of a better pair of people that I just want to like sit in a room and be yelled at by as those two.
Well, we get to see Cade's introduction to Failsafe in the Solstice Strides, the Hunter boots from the Warmind Solstice event. And they go like this. So your name is Failsafe. Yes, and your name is the Cade unit. You're an exo, human brain, robot body, weird mouth lights. Oh, wait, who is that? Who is who? I am me. It doesn't matter. You don't know what'll happen if I do this. You're an AI just like the one back home that told me about this place. That is incorrect. I am about 1,000 times smarter. If you're so smart, how come you crashed your big ship into a horse moon? That is very rude. Look, we don't have a lot of time. I'm just going to wire up this Vex teleporter to my triple jump circuits, What's the worst that could happen? Based on my cycle's analysis, Vex portal technology, one of many alarming yet likely outcomes is that your body and consciousness are separated into two distinct antimatter dimensions. You're making that up. Here it goes. Please, wait a moment, Cayde unit. I have not encountered anyone else on Nessus since the crash of the Exodus Black. I'm not good at being lonely. If you are absorbed into a quasi-space pseudo-realm, sorry, failsafe, gotta be brave here. Psst. And that's where that one ends.
God damn it, failsafe. Oh, Cayde. Hey, I'm not the one that crashed my ship into a horse moon. You are very rude, Cayde unit. Cayde unit, shut your modulator. I love failsafe. She's such an asshole, but I love that she has a split personality. For an AI to have developed a split personality over the course of so many years of being alone, because I think that's the thing to note about failsafe is she was part of the Exodus program. The ship that's crashed there is Exodus Black.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the strike name.
Yep. Exodus Black.
So that's one of the Exodus ships that was sent out into the universe as a colony ship, and this is where it crashed. Now, her crew survived for a little bit, I think. Because
they wandered out a little bit, and you find their bodies in various places.
Yep, you find the Captain Jacobson, I think.
I think so.
I keep wanting to say Jamison, but I'm like, wait a second, that's liquor. That's not right. So you find the captain, and then when failsafe does, you find the captain, and you kind of report back, and failsafe does kind of come to terms with it. She then names you kind of like the honorary captain. So yeah, but for her to be alone enough to have developed two very distinct personalities, one that's very cheery and one that's very like
not.
How do you describe, like, the one is very defined, right? Like, very happy, very, very exact, very scientific, and the other one is just like, hey, you're a fucking moron.
Yeah, it's just very, very dour, very negative. Just like,
both of them very blunt, both of them very straightforward.
Oh yes.
So for Cayde to be sitting here messing around with unknown Vex tech in front of the AI, and the AI like, no, wait, please don't go. I really need somebody to talk to.
Well, and I like his whole like, do you know what's gonna happen if I do this? And then she tells him like, yeah, there's a pretty good chance that it's gonna go real bad. And he's like, you're making it up, and does it anyway.
You don't know what you're talking about. You're just an AI. You're just doing computations.
So, as we all know, for anyone that has played the Red War campaign, Cayde succeeds not in separating his body and consciousness, thankfully, but in getting stuck in a teleport loop where he just kind of appears and disappears and reappears at different Vex terminals across Nessus over and over and over, and is presumably stuck there for who knows how long before our Guardian wanders up and finds him.
However long it took us to get to Zavala and Sloan on Titan,
right?
And through all of the EDZ, like, yeah, we do a bunch of stuff. We as the Guardian do a bunch of stuff with the EDZ with Hawthorne and Devrim K, and then we find the little transmitter of Zavala, and then we're like, okay, we'll go to Titan now, and we meet up with Sloan, and we do a bunch of stuff on Titan, and we meet up with Zavala, and Zavala says, I need my fire team. I need Cayde. And then we're like, okay.
Yeah. And so we come upon Cayde stuck in this teleporter, and we kind of follow his teleportation path with the assistance of failsafe to get him out of it, to disable the bits we need to stop the loop. But I don't know if it kind of sounds like he actually had enough time in this teleporter to write another journal based on the perspective this is from. So a while, but there's another memento from the wild that talks about this, and it goes like this. Okay, I should have paid more attention to you, Ikora. My brain usually checks out when the words have more than 3 syllables, but Who would have known you can't shoot your way out of a Vex teleporter? When I get out of this mess, what do you say you lay some Vex schooling on me, huh? And that's that little excerpt.
I mean, long enough to write an entry. But I mean,
Yep.
you're in the Vex network, so like presumably indefinite time?
Yeah, I guess. Like you digitize over and over, and while
Yeah.
you're digitized, who knows what it's like in there.
I think of like Tron and like they're like, we've been in here for 7 billion cycles. Well, that was only 10 years. What? So yeah.
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 So, and presumably not only enough time to write that journal entry, but to try to figure out drafts of essentially his will with failsafe as
Oh
his
my
his
god.
writing
Like his
partner.
soundboard. Oh my god.
So we get a little taste of that on the Solstice cloak, the Hunter cloak from the Solstice event in Warmind. And it goes like this. So that's it for now, Ace. I don't think I'm going to get out of this one. Not the most heroic way to go out for your old dad, I'll admit, but shoot. I'm going to have to start over. How long was that one, failsafe? 236 seconds since the last teleportation. You never told me that Ace was your son. How wonderful. And super sad. Well, that's the theory, anyway. Seemed as likely as anything else. So you don't know if he's your son? That's super duper sad. No, but you don't know what happened to your crew. Does it change how you feel about him? Not at all. But they're still dead. There you go. Now do me a favor and start recording again, will you? All right. Not sure how... Cayde unit, I have great news. A ship similar to yours has entered the gravitational radius of this planetoid. Well, all right then. Oh, listen, next teleport's about to happen. Don't tell them that I got in over my head, okay? Tell them it was some kind of Vex trap or something. Got it? Fail safe? And that's the end of that one.
Yeah, but they're still dead. Fucking failsafe. Come on. Oh, that poor AI. Yeah. So I mean, it makes sense that he would try to something like that. Like he would, because I mean, he's essentially stuck. They know how long it's going to take before he teleports. They've at least been able to calculate that. But outside of that,
Yep.
like he's stuck. Like there's
Yep.
no one else on this planetoid except for failsafe for him to talk to. Outside of that, it's just a bunch of Elixni and random cabal and Vex, and they don't exactly talk nice. So
No.
yeah, poor Cayde.
So yeah, sitting here writing his will and testament with failsafe as his editor,
and
I guess.
and it does bring up that one bit, right? Like that's the one of the lines that makes kind of made me question of like, what is Ace, or where's the reality of Ace?
So hold that thought.
Oh,
Hold that thought for now.
okay.
Because we're absolutely going to have a section. We're going to dive into that like crazy. But
Well, okay.
it's good to point out.
This is me jumping ahead again. Okay.
But yeah, so the ship that Failsafe saw was our Guardians. We show up, we go through the process of getting him out.
Got another good line from him. Oh, my cotton socks.
Oh, my cotton socks.
Yeah. My wife has a sticker of that on her work laptop.
Yeah. So we get him out of it, and he's still pretty much like, no, I gotta do this on my own. I can't, Ikora's, not in the right headspace. Zavala's gonna take forever to get stuff around. Like I'm gonna keep working on this Vex stuff because this is something that might work. Until we eventually tell him, our Guardian, says that like Zavala's calling in his fire team. Zavala said that he needs you. And that's where we were talking before. Cayde does the whole like, did he say those exact words? Did he say, I need Cayde?
Please tell me you recorded it.
Yeah. And that's all it takes to convince him to abandon Nessus and go meet up with Zavala. And then we go on to go find Ikora after that.
And it's funny that he abandons Nessus, but he doesn't abandon the Vex tech.
No, he does not.
He brings that teleporter with him.
Yep, he's tinkering with it the whole time, the rest of the campaign, essentially. And so what happens after that involving Cayde is more or less the campaign story. He meets up with his fire team. We all fight our way through the city. His Vex portal ends up being what gets us on the ship, onto Gaul's ship. We fight our way up to Gaul, destroy him. The Traveler breaks the cage on its own in response to Gaul trying to, I guess, usurp it as a being of pure light.
He does turn into giant light Gaul, and it's very confusing. Very cinematically cool, but very confusing.
There were some interesting story points in the vanilla campaign, but yeah, and then light is restored, everything is good again. All the Guardians have full access to their Ghost suite of abilities, including Revival.
Right back under that faucet.
Yep. They turn that tap back on. And so now there's a couple of things that happen in the downtime between the Red War and Forsaken that are kind of fun little stories to show kind of some of Cayde's relationships with the other members of the tower. So the first comes to us from the lore card of the Loaded Question, which is a legendary fusion rifle. And the lore card on this talks about how the Loaded Question came to be, and the discussion between the weaponsmith and the Hunter Vanguard. And it goes like this. Banshee stares at the paper and then turns it upside down. Well, I never said I was an artist, Cayde says over Banshee's shoulder. This gets at the spirit of it. Banshee turns the paper around again. So that's the laser tracker. Yeah. Huh. Banshee tilts his head. And those racing stripes on a fusion rifle. Cayde throws his arms up. We're just tossing ideas out here, pal. Don't shut anything down until you get the whole picture. It seems to me the picture's the problem. Okay, listen. The details aren't important. I just want a good gun that you take out and the fight's already over. He shoots at an invisible opponent. You just take it out and then shoo, the end. Banshee relaxes. He knows good guns. Cayde clasps Banshee's shoulder. So is that a yes? Uh-huh. Great. Cayde claps his hands. Not to rush you, genius, but chop, all right? I maybe made a bet with a certain crucible handler, and I maybe don't have the glimmer to back it up. So, by the way, they'll do this on an IOU, right? Banshee points at the paper once more. Is that a bottle opener? Yeah. And that's where that one ends.
Gotta be prepared for everything, man. Just saying. Boy Scout motto, be prepared.
Yep. So Cayde makes some special orders to Banshee, or tries, I guess.
I was going to say, I feel like Banshee's the only one that kind of like accepts it. Like everyone in the tower really does kind of accept his IOUs, but I feel like Banshee's actually the only one that really accepts his IOUs.
Yeah.
But I think Banshee just enjoys working on a gun, so it's to him it's like,
oh yeah,
I got another project. Yeah, it's another project for him to work. Yeah.
Plus, I mean, with Banshee, unfortunately, he probably doesn't remember if people have paid him or not for the work he does.
Shit.
So
I didn't even think of that. He doesn't remember if there's an IOU or not.
No.
Oh, poor guy.
But so yeah, just a fun little interaction between those two. And And now there's another fun story that kind of happens in the downtime between these two periods in Destiny, involving Cayde and that Crucible coordinator that he was talking about before, and a bet that Shaxx actually lost.
Get out of here. Shaxx doesn't lose bets. He just cashes them in at later times.
Well, we're going to see what happens. Cayde's way of having him pay off this bet is rather interesting. So we are starting with the Wing Disciple class item for the Titan, which goes like this. I beat you fair, Cayde said. Don't ever. He raised his hand high to wag a finger under Shaxx's nose. Try to outtrace my golden gun. Two children run by in a blur, laughing. Shaxx shakes his head slowly. It was a tactical error. Won't happen again. Next time doesn't matter, buddy. You lost today. And today, you owe me. The Titan stares down at the hunter, but says nothing. His hands clench in fists. Cayde ignores the posturing and turns to face a desolate field of dirt and large rocks. A writhing mob of children spreads across it, clusters of them barreling into each other as they bellow and scream. A much smaller number of elders wade in the chaotic sea of miniature people. What is this? What's happening? Shaxx demands. This city has children who must stay within designated safe zones. The two guardians watch as a boy climbs the largest rock on the field, about 4 feet in the air, and howls at the sky. And because of that, they're going a little stir-crazy. Parents bring them out to this, you'd think we'd have a name for it, this field every month, and they have at it. Better they hit each other than try to climb the walls. Shaxx stares at Cayde and then turns and stares at the children. And that's where the story pauses.
Shaxx on babysitting duty.
Shaxx has been put on babysitting duty.
I want Shaxx as my babysitter.
So we get to see how this plays
small
out.
Human! Don't jump! Stop running! I want
Why
Shaxx.
do you cry when I yell at you?
I want Shaxx as my babysitter so bad.
So Cayde has essentially told them, hey, these kids need supervision. They're going stir crazy. We let them out here to just go wild. It's your job to watch them today. And we see part 2 of this story in the Wing Contender Hunter Cloak.
I think it was supposed to be Cayde's duty.
Oh, it absolutely was. It absolutely was. But the story continues. Shaxx stares at them. So here's how it's going to be. You're going to pick 2, Cayde says. Shaxx looks down at him. Pick 2 what? 2 of the little brats. You'll pick a team of 2, and you're going to train them in this sport they play at some kind of tournament. You know all about those. Shaxx surveys the field. This is ridiculous, he concludes. It's not the last time you're going to say that today. But you've made your bed. Get comfy. I can pay you, Glimmer. 2 Crucible matches worth. Why waste my time on children? A child speeds past and waves at Cayde as Shaxx speaks. Cayde responds with a thumbs up. Because I like bugging you. Plus, you'd be surprised what goes on out here that only these little miscreants know about. Beneath the helmet, Shaxx is staring holes into the Exo's face. They run very fast. Listen, I know you're going to be you, but try to keep them intact. I'm make sure a guardian they know comes to visit them once in a while. And you weren't the kid's first choice or even their 10th, but you were the only one I could get leverage on this week. Shax stands motionless, but his fury engulfs the air like flame. Cayde turns to leave, his cloak billowing in the wind behind him. I'm going to make so many crucible bets while you're gone. You wouldn't dare, Shax began, but Cayde was already lost in the departing crowd. Shax lets out a breath and scans the field again, past child after squirming child. He quickly discerned the two on the field with the best athletic potential. Two human girls, snarling as they swung branches at each other, seemingly impervious to pain. He walks past them, through the crowd, and several elders pause just briefly enough in their youth wrangling to let their jaws hang as the guardian goes past them. Lord Shax navigates the unruly sea with grace and heads towards a lone tree in a corner of the field. An awoken girl and a human boy sit huddled below. As Shax's shadow eclipses them, they look up at him with the same brightness in their eyes. "What are your names?" he demands. "Runa," said the awoken with some disdain. She returned the blank stare of Shax's faceplate. "My name's Lenwabo," recited the human, more like a question than a statement. "You look bored, Runa," Shax observed, "and you look worried, Lunwabo." He pointed at the boy who scooted back, startled. "As far as I'm concerned, that makes both of you more intelligent than all of the other dregs," said the Titan. "You're with me. I need the rules of engagement." Shax stared at them, and they stared back. "Someone talk to me." And then they both spoke at once, and Shax listened in silence as they talked over each other to explain the game. Two teams of two launched orb projectiles at each other, and the players struck were eliminated. And if both players on a team are eliminated, then the team was out of the tournament, and their chance to play on the field was over. "What do you call this drill? Skirmish? Supremacy?" Shax asks. "Dodgeball," said Runa. "We'll work on the name. Follow my instructions, and I will lead you to victory." And Shax waved one of the adults over. Lord Shax?" says the exo male. "Just Shax is fine." Only guardians owed him respect of his title. "Find my team a match. The sooner the better." And Shax brought Lunwabo and Runa to the field and kneeled. His hands engulfed their shoulders like a pair of descending moons. "My friends, should you be killed, others lesser than you will take your place. Don't fight for yourself. Fight for those poor fools." Lunwabo opened his mouth as if to speak, but hiccuped instead. Shax turned them both around to face the sun and the other team across the field. He kneeled so low that his face was level with theirs, and the three stared at the opposition. Two human boys, eyes glaring, fists balled in determination. Their elder stood behind them, her eyes wide as she recognized Lord Shax. Runa yawned and rubbed her face, trying to clear the sleep from it. Shax whispered to his two new charges, "Crush them." That's the end of that one.
If you could dodge a golden gun, you could dodge a ball.
Pretty much.
Jesus. If you could dodge a flaming hammer, you could dodge a ball. Yeah, that's all. That's all that's going through my head right now is just Shax, just like, oh my god, that's it. I could use a dodgeball player like you in the Red Jacks. Yeah. Cayde, what have you done?
I know.
What shenanigans have you just fucking started? Like,
and I love how Cayde leaves it with like, "Look, you're the only person I could get leverage on.
Yeah.
So you're the one that's doing it, and I'm gonna go gamble in Crucible while you're gone.
Yep.
Bye.
Daddy's away. I'm going to go make some bets. You two, young ones, what are your names? Oh my God. This is great. Like, I think the main thing to me is for this is like, after Gaul was defeated, there really was just kind of happiness in the city. Like it as much as we the player kind of saw that post Destiny 2 year, the Curse of Osiris and Warmind, as I'll admit it, a little bit of lackluster, little rough on the edges. I know several people took breaks, genuinely worried about the state of the game at the time. But but even in game, like there's just this. We defeated somebody who tried to take out the light, and prevailed. Like, what else could we? I mean, we've killed gods. We've in the way of Oryx. We've restored light to the soul system by taking out Gaul and took back our home lightless. Like, it was very much there's nothing we can't take on kind of attitude in the city at this point in time. And Cayde's just to him it's right back to business as usual, making bets and making Shacks look silly.
So this is a very peaceful time in a lot of ways in the city here, and it's during this time as Cayde now has a established kind of working relationship with Petra, has shown that he's compassionate towards the plight that the Awoken people are facing. He has been doing multiple jobs for Petra here and there because A, they need help, and B, it gives him an excuse to get away.
Anything to get out of the tower.
Yeah.
I'm going to go play ambassador diplomat now. Bye.
Bye. So I'm not going to go over blow by blow the main job he did for her, which was the capture of the I guess execution of most and capture of the remaining, what are at that time known as the Barons of the Reef. Now, when we think the Barons from Forsaken. Those were the surviving Barons. The Barons of the Reef was actually kind of a very large Elixni crime syndicate that was in the Reef that was causing no end of issues for the, surviving Awoken that are just trying to eke out a life on the Reef still. And so Petra ended up petitioning Cayde to put a fire team together to go deal with them. And a large portion of them were killed in that kind of bounty hunt. And the remaining ones that were captured were sent to the Prison of Elders. All of that whole story arc takes place in the Destiny comic. During this time, Bungie released a actual comic strips for Curse of Osiris and for Anna Bray for the Warmind.
I love the Anna Bray ones they put out in those. Those were some of my favorites.
So one of them in that series was about Cayde going after the Barons of the Reef with that fire team that he put together. Highly recommend if you can get your hands on a copy. I don't know if they're freely available anywhere.
I think you can still purchase them from the Bungie store. For some reason,
you can definitely buy them
there still.
You can definitely buy them. If they're not on the Bungie store, I've seen them on Amazon a ton of times.
Okay.
So the comic collection
exist in the wild then.
Yeah, they're definitely out there. If you have the opportunity to read them, they're actually pretty good. So I would recommend it. But after those Barons have been captured and thrown into the Prison of Elders, And then again, along with, as we saw in our Aldrin Sov series, Aldrin is also kind of turns himself in. But, Cayde is present for Aldrin being put in the prison of elders. He's there with Petra and Varix as they kind of, set him up as an inmate. After some time has passed, these members are in the prison. Cayde gets a notice that Petra needs help. And this is the notice that eventually leads to the first mission of Forsaken. But Cayde left a letter for to essentially tell the Vanguard where he was going. And so in that letter, which is just titled Letter from Cayde, this was a just web lore, one of those things they post on their Twitter or their blog. Just this quick little letter, and it says this: Ikora, Zavala, if you're reading this, shame on you. You didn't notice me slip out the back door. Gotta step up your game, my buddies. But here's the play. I'm going back to the reef. Not just for a mission or two, I'll be staying there for a few days to help out our old pal Petra Venge with a few things. Nothing too serious, just picking up some patrol slack. As always, you know the coordinates of my dare, blah blah blah. If I need any backup, I'll hit up my favorite guardian. Enough said. Zavala, have you figured out your tell yet? I'd let you know, but Sundance says you gotta figure it out on your own. You know what a tough little ghost she is. How about this? Play a few rounds with Banshee while I'm gone. I'll bet you a gold engram he'll figure out your tell in 3 hands. And if you drop more than 4 Ks of glimmer, he might just take pity on you and tell you what it is. Ikora, I left my Sparrow with Holiday, and I'm afraid she's going to replace my Tharsis thrusters with some of that fancy new crap the wingheads are into these days. Could you mosey on by, make sure she doesn't get too enthusiastic? I'll owe you one. Another one. See you, Starside. Cayde. And that's the end of that one.
Yeah. I love any of these writings from Cayde. I love his demeanor, his attitude. The Cayde, the character is how is he not the greatest character? I'm going to say he is the greatest character in all of Destiny lore.
He is a very fun. He is. He's a very charismatic and just jovial character to be around. Now we've seen from the first episode of our Cayde series, as well as we'll see a little more later tonight, that he has a lot of depth to him. There's a lot more going on in there than what he, the mask he puts on. But you can't help but smile when you're dealing with Cayde in any capacity.
Yeah.
So, but he talked about his dare. You know the coordinates of my dare, blah, blah, blah. We can see what his dare is from the lore card on the Ace of Spades gun. So his dare, or I guess the lore card, says this: The last will and testament of Cayde-6. To whom it may concern. I, Cayde-6, being of sound-ish mind and body, do hereby and henceforth and theretofore leave all of my possessions to the person, alien, animal, or natural phenomenon that kills me. Aforesaid possessions include, but are not limited to, the Ace of Spades, any and all stashes I've hidden throughout the system, the Colonel, my faithful friend, the remaining debt that I have, which follows. Error. Attached file is too big to download. And that's the end of that card.
And his post at the Vanguard Tower.
This is true. That is part of his possessions.
Yeah.
So his dare is essentially, if you killed me, you get to do everything that I did before.
You owe a lot of people a lot of money.
Yes.
And the Colonel. The Colonel. I love it. For anyone who doesn't know, the Colonel is a chicken. He's literally just a chicken. He used to be out where Amanda was, because Amanda had her shrine to Cayde out there, and Cayde was out there during during Destiny 2 vanilla. You got to pick up I can't remember what they're called. I think they were just called stash coordinates or something like that, or mysterious maps or something like that.
Yeah.
That you go find them, and every once in a while they'd have a rare emblem in them that you could collect a bunch of them. But yeah, the Colonel was just a chicken that he had picked up from the farm, made friends with on the farm while they were planning their attack on the city, and made it to the city with him. And he's just there now.
He's just there.
He's just there. I think now he's over by the tree near Zavala.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the statue too, Cayde. Just kind of appropriate that he's over there now. But yeah, the Colonel is still there, and somebody, oh God, I just made a realization.
Oh?
The Crow owns the Colonel.
Yeah, kinda.
Shit. And a lot of people, a lot of money.
People, a lot of money. Congrats, you're the Hunter Vanguard. Your pay is docked for the next 200 years.
you make $0. Oh shit.
But yeah, so as many people know, and as we alluded to there, in the events of Forsaken, the very first mission of Forsaken, Cayde is his normal self, his charismatic, devil may care attitude. If you haven't, you should go watch a playthrough of just that first mission at least.
Yeah.
And just the him going through and like pressing every button on the server stacks to try and get things working, and
Petrovich. Do the thing.
Just a little knife spin.
Yeah.
So really, really fun, and it concludes. It culminates in, I hazard to say, one of, if not the best cinematic that they have done.
All right, you back in your cages.
Yeah, and he finds
so good.
He finds all of the barons that he had put there are now released and trying to escape, and he's sitting there going, "Oh no, you're all going back, or you're going down." And he does not know that they are Scorn, that they are undead at this point. And he starts getting swarmed with Scorn, and I love the way they portrayed like the Hunter jump as he's jumping around.
Oh sure, slaps his trip mine down behind him as he goes on. Starts getting overwhelmed, jumps up midair and activates Golden Gun. The whole thing kind of slows down a bit, and he's just Golden Gun straight up in the air. And then all the Scorns swarm him and kick him out of his hand, and he gets pissed and just does this twirling blade spin. And then all of a sudden, Fan of Knives happens, and he just stands up. He's like, "All right, now I'm pissed." Headbutts a Scorn with his horn to kill it. Like, yeah, it's the whole scene is amazing.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know that we've said this, but if it wasn't clear already, so Ace, the son that Cayde has been writing all of his letters to, is also the inspiration for his gun, which is the Ace of Spades. So it's very much like he keeps it as a memento, and even his ship. So Cayde's ship is called the Queen of Hearts, and that being reference to his queen that he talked about in our first episode.
What is? I think the lore on it is most wear their hearts on their sleeves. She had mine in the palm of her hand.
Yep.
I know that one off the top of my head. Like anything Cade related, my wife absolutely loves them. Like she's still like part of her main transmog is the mark of Cade, the bond, the warlock bond that just has the spade in it. And she still to this day, like when she got that ship, she has not unequipped it since. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. And so he's always paying homage to, his ace and his queen. And the cinematic, lead concludes with Sundance, his ghost, being shot by the riflemen and being destroyed, and then Cade getting pretty beat to a pulp by the remaining Scorn, and then eventually finished off by, at that point, still Aldrin Sov with his own gun, with Ace of Spades to deliver the final blow. And that kicks off the Forsaken story and our Guardians' essentially path to revenge.
Oh,
is
it
what that story
absolutely
was.
is a path to revenge. Ikora was very upset that Zavala wasn't going to lead a fucking army into the reef and kick doors down.
Yeah, and it left the Vanguard in quite a predicament.
It left them broken.
Yeah, not only emotionally, because they clearly they had very strong kind of like familial ties to Cade, but also from a governing standpoint. Like that is a pillar of their decision making that is just gone now. And we see they tried to figure out a couple different ways to fill that spot. In light of Cade's dare, Aldrin dies at the end of Forsaken, so that removes him as a possibility. And as Ikora kind of discusses, depending on how you take it, Aldrin maybe isn't the one that killed Cade necessarily, depending on your point of view. So she gives a detailed response in the chapter titled Instability, which is from the Stolen Intelligence lore book. And in it, she says, regarding the open Hunter Vanguard position and the terms of Cade's dare, the situation is unprecedented. Were we to trace the chain of culpability back to its first link, I believe we would be obligated to elect a hive god to our vanguard. Our current inclination is to caucus with the hunters to debate the benefits of opening the position to any interested and well-qualified hunter. Such a debate is, of course, contingent upon the continued existence of the vanguard itself. We will make an effort to convene the hunters as soon as possible, but this group should be well aware that the most credible candidates have fled the tower in anticipation of exactly such a debate. That's the end of that little snippet.
Every hunter for himself. Ain't nobody wanting to stick in that post.
Nope. But it is interesting that like they thought about maybe we just say Cade's dare is moot. It can't happen.
I do like the idea of a hive god being put in place.
Right.
Like,
because Aldrin was technically kind of brainwashed by Riven, who was under orders of Savathun. So it's like, is Savathun the Hunter Vanguard now?
God. Oh, God.
She already was a former Warlock Vanguard.
Oh, my God.
But yeah. So needless to say, Cade's position has gone unfilled and currently, at time of recording, continues to be unfilled, at least in an official capacity.
There was big talks of everyone kind of thinking like, oh, when after the scene of Aldrin being rezzed as a guardian and now becoming Crow, like, oh, okay, so he's going to be the Hunter Vanguard because he's the one that killed Cade, and it's like, well, I mean, it's complicated. That's the official, the Hunter Vanguard Facebook page. It just says it's complicated. That's it.
Yes.
That's all. That's it. Just one post from like 8 years ago that just says it's complicated, and that's it. We'll
So,
update when we know more.
so Cayde at this point is gone, is past in the Destiny universe. And so we're gonna touch on kind of his last few journal entries, and then the mission that culminates in us finding the repair parts, essentially, for Ace of Spades, and then go from there. So the first one I want to read is the chapter titled "All In," which is from the book "The Man They Call Cayde." And it's unclear as to exactly when Cayde wrote this, but I think it's this is a good spot in kind of the telling to bring it up. So this is another letter, or starts out as another letter from him to Ace, and it goes like this: "Hey kid, I know I don't write you very often, but it's better than never. Ain't easy for me to find the words. I mean, it is. I find them, but I know they're not always the right ones. Too much flash, too much looking out for how I'm looking, not enough just telling it how it is. That's why I'm doing this, Ace. That's why you and me are having these words. Easier to say 'em than scrawl 'em. This way, nah. Now that I'm doing it, it feels more honest, if I'm being... It feels more true. Thing is, and I'm sorry it's like this, but I can only talk to you in my mind, in my heart. This is how one-to-one works now. Father and son, Cayde and his firecracker Ace. What am I doing? Reality is, ain't no telling who I'm talking to. Hell, could be the me after me. Hi, me, looking good. Sorry you can't remember all that you can't remember. That's just the XO's lot in life. Though if you are me sitting on the other side, I gotta tell you, I never wanted this. You never wanted this. I made it real clear to the big Z, to Ikora, Banshee, Amanda, my pal Jimmy down at the ramen spot that if anyone ever finds that deep stone crypt thingy, I stop counting at 6. No higher. You hear me? No higher. I think there's just something about the number 7 that gives me the heebie-jeebies. Unlucky, overrated, I don't know. Just a number with bad mojo in my book. So if you've got a 7 in tow or above, someone's changed the game. Someone's not playing nice. Might want to do something about that. If you haven't listened to the earlier files, the start of this ramble, find them. Hear them. You might not want to take lessons from an unknown reflection, but trust me, whatever kind of man you are, you can be better. Also, there are journals. Don't call them a diary. Three-eyed gal with a preference for deep holes and nightmares always called them diaries. Don't take cues from her. Anyway, end of the day, new me, if that is you. You get to choose who and how you want to be. The hope is that maybe I can guide you a bit, like the me before me did. And when you get to the part about the kid and the girl, my ace and my queen, they're yours too. Because they are all yours. A gift. And you'll be better for it. And if you don't feel that thing, that soft spot in the middle of all that circuitry when you get to them, then if you are me, well, you aren't like me at all. And that means you're trouble. The good kind or the bad, impossible for me to know. All I can do is give you the tools to raise you right. That goes for you too, Ace, if you're listening. Hell, it goes for anyone. Strangers, old friends, new enemies. Learn from me. Be better than me. Because I'd really hate to think whoever you are is someone that I wouldn't get along with. And that's the end of that one.
See, this is another one that, like, again, makes me question the existence of Ace and what is Ace and who is Ace and Queen, and I don't know, man. It's hard to tell.
Well, hold that thought, because the very next entry says this.
Okay.
This is another memento from the wild. And Cayde says, "Here's the truth, Ace. I don't remember you. I found your name in a journal I had on me when my ghost resed me. I guess I used to write to you, and I kept doing it, even though you're long dead, if you ever really existed. I just like having someone to write to, I guess. So there you have it." And that's that little snippet.
Well, shit. So it really is just kind of an unknown. Even Cade doesn't know if it's a real person or not.
Yeah, he needs somebody. He needs to be able to write to somebody out there. And Ace has been his way of doing that, of like keeping in contact with his own, I guess, keeping himself like on track with his own ideals, or what he's decided his ideals are going to be.
Like true to his moral center type thing.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. All right. Well,
So,
where do we go from here?
So from here, we're going to go through the Ace in the Hole quest. So this came out with Forsaken. We go through, we find all the various stashes that used to belong to Cayde, where a lot of those journal entries that we've read throughout these 2 episodes came from. And all in the name of trying to repair the Ace of Spades, because it's pretty beaten up by the time we get it back from Aldrin at the end of Forsaken. And Banshee's like, yeah, I know Cayde stashed spare parts for it. You just gotta go find them. And that leads us to a number of treasure chests that Cayde left behind, his stashes, in this mission called Ace in the Hole. And we go through each chest, and each chest has an audio recording attached to it, where Cayde has left a message for his would-be replacement. And in Cayde's mind, the only way someone replaces him is because they killed him, because that's what his dare is. And so he's left a number of audio recordings for various different people that he thinks maybe could have ended up being the ones that did him in. And so I'm just going to go through those recordings, and we may pause in between some here and there. But yeah, so as you progress through this mission, this is what you hear. The Guardian finds the first stash and opens it. Cayde speaks. "This one's for Eris Morn. Ahem. If you're listening to this, congrats on killing me. I assume you became a hive death god and fed me to your worm cult. That, or you just finally got sick of me. Coincidentally, if you didn't kill me and still somehow hear this, I'm sorry for stealing your ship. And, pretty much every other interaction we've ever had. But to be clear, if you did kill me, I do not apologize, and I will consider all of my actions 100% justified. Either way, feel free to put your rock on my maps now. I don't need them anymore." That's the end of that one.
Oh.
So the second stash.
These are going to get me all emotional.
Well, the second one isn't necessarily as sweet.
I do have to laugh, though, because, like, if she did turn into a hive god, that means, like, the dark future kind of happened.
Essentially, yeah.
Like, yeah.
But yeah, so the second stash says this. "This one's for that armless coward, Cayde-6 the Scarred. If you're listening to this, you killed me, but I bet I took a big chunk of your ugly husk with me. Guess Brask wasn't enough for you, huh? You want another Hunter Vanguard in your sick collection. I got my share of regret, sure, but not putting a bullet in you has got to rank in the top 3. Won't be long before a better guardian than me puts you in your place. Just wish I could be there to see it. And that's the end of that one.
Oh, don't worry, Cayde. We will regale you.
Yes.
That
Stasham.
crazy armless son bitch. now he's a legless son bitch. Cayde-6 the hovercraft.
Yep. That's exactly what it was.
That fucks me up so much. I don't how there's not enough time for him to do what he did between that point in time and that point in time, and that's what pops up out of the crash, and you're just like, what the fuck is this?
Because video game.
Because video game. I like it.
Unfortunately, there is no other answer to that one.
That is because video game. That's yeah.
Yeah. But so the next cache says this. This one's for the fella calls himself the Drifter. You did warn me. Running with you would put a target on my back. Guess I'm in good company, though, huh? After all, never had any fun without a little risk. That's the whole idea with the operation you're putting together, ain't it? My idea, by the way. Had it like 1,000,000 years ago, back when you were still handsome. So, you're welcome. Getting that up and running means that you can come out of hiding. Giving you-know-who another shot at you. Hope I was around to see that showdown. Personally, my money was on the guy with the golden gun, but hey, what do I know? I'm dead. That's the end of that one.
Again, I keep getting my story confused with the Drifter, even though we did a whole series on him. Who the heck was the man with the golden gun? Was it Callus?
Shin
Malphur.
Shin Malphur, yeah.
Who is the other one I'm thinking of? Callum?
Callum.
Callum?
You're thinking of Callum.
Who is that?
So Callum was a member of the Dredgens.
I was going to say, is Cayde talking about running with the Dredgens in this one, or just like hanging out with the Drifter?
I think Cayde was in the Dredgens for a little bit.
Holy shit! Who was he?
We don't know what his Dredgen name was.
Dredgen Joker?
Hey,
Ooh, Dredgen Ace. Oh.
Hey, that wouldn't be bad.
Dredgen King?
Maybe. King and Queen.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
But yeah, so I think he was running either with the Dredgens or maybe just with Drifter, but Drifter, always has people after him kind of thing. So
back when he was Germain and Wu Ming.
Yep. So regardless, Cayde knows that Shin is potentially keeping an eye on Drifter, and he's like, man, I wish I was around to see how that all went.
Because Shin's still around, right?
As far as we know, yeah.
Because I know when we do, I want to say it's the quest for... Oh, is it the quest for malfeasance? For some reason, I feel like it's during that quest chain. The Drifter gets visibly shaken and scared when the idea of the man with the golden gun comes around, because it's the variation on the corrupted strike. You get to the end of it, and there's the Taken Cabal, and then there's just a black chunk of smoke with a human shape outline on this inside of it, and a dead ghost. And Drifter is very much concerned about that.
Yep, that is all stuff that relates to Shin and the Dredgens and the Last Word and Thorn and all of those things that we will do a different series on at some point in the future.
Yes.
So, but yeah. And apparently Gambit was Cayde's idea, or Cayde is trying to take credit for it. I'm not sure which.
Yeah, that's little column A, little column B, maybe. I don't know. It could go either way with Cayde.
Yeah. But so we get to the 4th chest, and the message is this. Petra, if you're listening to this, you killed me. Maybe the Sovs and all their mysterious wisdom decided they were sick of me? If the queen ordered the hit, I guess I understand. You're a real glutton for chivalry. But if it was Aldrin, I'm pissed. Just thinking about that peacock gave me a headache. But I'm betting my death was another case of your famous collateral damage. Because you're a real do-gooder. Seriously, it's annoying. But good deeds never go unpunished when you're around. You just got a blast radius, PV. Well, it was fun while it lasted. And that's the end of that one.
That was pretty accurate as to what happened.
Kinda, yeah.
It's pretty damn. Yeah, that's pretty spot on.
And there is technically a secret message in that one, a Paladin Orin message, which Cayde and Petra used to pass codes. I think all of the Corsairs used it. Which
It's still a confusing message to me.
Yeah, because the message, I don't have the translated version in front of me, but it's it comes down, it translates to it's on
Enceladus.
Enceladus?
Yeah, which is another moon of Jupiter.
Which we have never been to.
Ever. Nope.
So
it was
I don't know what's going on there.
Because like the whole theory behind that was like, is he talking about Deepstone Crypt? Like, is he telling us where it is? And for some reason, and I don't know where I'm pulling this info from, it may have just been a random comment that someone said that I've now got stuck in my head as word of the land. But for some reason, I remember a Bungie tweet or something saying to the effect of, yeah, originally it was going to be Enceladus, and then it became Europa. And so the Cayde message of that was like, it's I don't want to say it was like an error on his part, but I want to say they played it off as that. But I don't remember where I'm remembering this from. And again, that could just be something I made up in my head, and now it's just stuck there.
Yeah, I think the only thing we know for sure is that apparently it's the location of something of interest to Petra.
Yep.
I think that's the only thing we can say is confirmed.
Yep. Whatever it is on Enceladus.
So we move on to the fifth stash, and this one does talk about the Deepstone Crypt. So this one says, "This one's for the minds behind the Deepstone Crypt. You think just because you made me, you can unmake me? Hey, understand, if I were you, I wouldn't want people knowing what I did either. Guess you better hope I didn't tell anyone about the crypt, or about the, what was it? Oh yeah, the long, slow whisper. Because if I did, that would be real bad for you, huh? I may be dead, but I guarantee you ain't heard the last of me." And that's the end of that one.
That one's the one that's always just confused the piss out of me. Like, what the hell is the long, slow whisper?
So if I recall, I think
is that part
the
of
long,
like the billboarding
slow
process?
I think the long, slow whisper is the dream that all the exos have.
The tower and everyone fighting, and every once in a while it's peaceful, but for majority of people, and 9 times out of 10, they're just fighting to get to this tower.
Yeah, I think
it's no idea what the hell that's about either.
Right. I think it's the implication that like Cayde knows that what clarity is, and that it was used in exo creation, and that it's causing this shared hallucination / dream.
I believe it. If anyone would know what it is, it'd be Cayde.
Right. And so
Cayde and Elsie, I think, are the two prime candidates that would know what he's talking about here with the long, slow whisper. And I don't think Elsie's going to let that go anywhere, because, again, from her perspective, that's another thing that, oh, great, I can thank Granddad for. Fuck that guy. From her point of view. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess it's worth saying we don't know when he made each of these recordings.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
This could have been, regarding Deep Stone Crypt, maybe this is a Golden Age recording
Could have been.
that he made that he decided to put in with all these other stashes just so that that info was stored somewhere.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I mean that would be one of his killers, right? Like that's the whole
Right.
that's
Yeah.
the whole premise behind getting reset is Clovis was like, oh well, you died or you weren't useful enough, so I'm just gonna reset you.
Yep.
And we know he ran secret missions for
Clovis.
Yeah.
So the next one says this. Here's one for Soraya Hawthorne. You know, when I told my ghost I'd be making one of these for you, she laughed. I don't have to tell you that. I just wanted to make you feel bad. In my defense, if you're listening to this, you did kill me. I mean, if it was a fair fight, mano a mano, I'd win, no question. But I can see you planning out some convoluted, meticulous trap. Some would call that paranoia. Me, I call it being a hunter. So here's your next hunter lesson. Looking after your own. Speaking of which, congratulations. You are now the proud owner of the Colonel. Now, she only eats sesame seed and drinks purified spring water with a sprig of parsley. So play nice, you two. And that's the end of that one.
The Colonel. Love it. Also cool poncho kid.
Yeah. Poor Soraya has not gotten a single new voice line.
Nothing. Fucking nothing. Literally the same. Huh, is he bothering you? Yeah, he does that sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, good one. That's it. That's like her only two. For the longest time, she just said the same one every time you went and visited her. She'd like play off the whole like what was it like?
Yep.
Some say the Vanguard. I don't even remember what it is. I've tuned it out so much that I'm just like skip.
I know. But yeah. So even Sundance was like, really? You're good for her?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You goober.
Okay. So this next one says this. This one's for any hunters who kill me. Best guess, Marcus Wren? You realize you get my stuff now. All my stuff, including the Hunter Vanguard gig. Yeah, congratulations, dummy. That's what we call a Vanguard dare. Sucks, don't it? Okay, brace yourself for some advice. 1, know your people. Like my Nessus scout. Quantus Ray, I like to call her about once a moon, else she gets a little too much night, not enough stalker, 2, keep your weapons sharp. Your job is to watch everyone's back, which means no one's watching yours but you. And 3, start thinking now about what you want to do for your successor's Vanguard dare. Because trust me, kid, this gig will kill you. That's the end of that one.
Hunter's always thinking forward. If I'm not mistaken, is Marcus Wren dead?
No, Marcus Wren's still going.
Okay. For some reason, I have it in my head that he's dead, but
yeah, I mean, the event he was made famous for is no longer something that we as a player can participate in. Because Marcus Wren is known as being a like top SRL racer.
Oh man. Hashtag please bring back SRL.
Yes, please.
Sparrow League Racing.
It'd be a type of PvP I might actually play.
I would enjoy it. I like a good race every now and then. The worst part is you'd have to disable no time. Because that's a
because that Sparrow goes faster and everything.
It's a cheater.
Always on time.
Always on time. I was thinking no time to explain, but yeah, that's always on time.
So the next one here goes like this. It's- I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm imagining how awkward you must look right now. Okay. Okay, Zavala. So I'm dead. You killed me. My stuff is yours. No more working me over at chess. No more getting worked over at poker. For real, though, you know that if you needed to kill me for the good of the city or whatever, totally understand. No hard feelings. Nada. You can put this voice recording away and go on with your life. Now, if you did have some lingering guilt or something, that would be rough. Because you and I both know you'd have me yapping in your ear for the rest of your days. You wouldn't be able to help yourself. And that's the end of that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Zavala would ever kill Cayde, even if he had to.
Yeah.
I think Zavala is too noble.
Yeah, I don't think he could ever do it.
I don't think he could.
But so following Zavala is Ikora.
Now
This one
she absolutely could because somebody
if
hurt
she needed
her
to.
in a past life, and that poor woman needs help.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you build, I'm just saying, if you build a Vex gate in the middle of the tower leading directly to a Vex Hydra named the Undying Mind.
It was a slight lapse in judgment.
Okay. All right. I'll give you that. It did only last for like 3 months before she was like, okay, maybe we tear this down.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so this one goes like this. Hi, Ikora. So you know I'm making a bunch of these, right? I probably told you. I always got to have the last word, and I'm gonna prepare for every possibility. But to tell the truth, this one's the easiest to make. So long as we're being honest, I can never tell if you really liked me that much. But well, if you did hate me, the feeling was not mutual. In fact, yeah, I'll say it. I don't even mind that you killed me. I figure if we threw down, first off, no one can blame me for losing, and I know you'd be in the right. So, thanks, I guess. You were a good friend, better than a guy like me could hope for. Anyway, so yeah, thanks, Ikora, for everything. And that's the end of that one.
Again, Ikora and Cayde, I think, are really close. Just like Ikora.
Yeah.
I think Ikora and Cayde are close in the brother sister aspect.
Yeah.
I think he definitely looks at her as like an older sister. That as much as she's there and stronger than him, like it's just a known fact that Ikora is the most powerful guardian. Second most.
One of. I'm not sure if they've really ranked like first, second, third.
Okay,
but
I'm gonna say the most until proven otherwise. But as much as she is the most powerful warlock or guardian, Cayde still looks at like her as like he has to protect her still, and I think she looks at him the same way. Like the two of them really look out for each other. When I think of, again, thinking back to Zavala's line of like, I need my fire team. Like the three of them were so close, like very, very tight knit.
Yeah.
Like way more tight knit than all of their previous. I mean, granted, obviously, Osiris and Saint, very obviously very close, being in a relationship with each other. But then like the Hunter portion of that was kind of there. Like it wasn't really. I don't feel like they had the closeness that Zavala, Ikora, and Cayde have. So yeah, I think this one to me like that would really hit Cayde. He's dead, so he couldn't feel it. But
right,
yeah. Yeah, that one would probably be the hardest one for him to accept.
Yeah, and then we have the final recording, not the final reading from us, we have one more after this, but the final recording from this mission, which says this. This one's for the strong, silent type. You. Congratulations, buddy. I mean that. I always knew you'd outdo me someday. And if that means you had to do me in too, well, you saved my life on Nessus, so I suppose I owe it to you anyway. Take care of the Ace of Spades, will you? I'm not just talking about the maintenance. Banshee can help you with all that. I mean, take care of Ace. Use it well. Oh, hey, and if you found any of those papers from my earlier deployments, burn them. I don't want people poking through the lives of Cayde 0 through 5. So just put it all behind you, okay? Every story has an end. This is mine. And that's the end of that one.
That one to me really felt like the finalization, right? Like that, as much as I want to say when this came out, there was a there was when the ramen token came out,
I think so, yeah.
and there's a lore card on the ramen token. I'm assuming that's what we're reading next.
No, actually.
Well, we are now because you're going to go find it. No, but somewhere on that token is like, uh, he says, you know, when you bring this over, tell him that Cayde-6 sent you. That's Cayde, and he spells it out SIX. Then not 7. There is no 7. Not 5. Like there is only 1, and it is Cayde-6, and that is the end of Cayde. And so to me, this message really is that like finalization. Like he truly is saying like, don't go to Deepstone Crypt. Don't pull a memory of me back and get another Cayde. And even our ghosts, there's a dialogue that if you go to, I know I've talked about this before, the giant server stacks that are there on in I believe it's called Eternity, in on Europa. There's a ghost line. There's a line that your ghost will say every once in a while when you're in there, saying, you know, we could go find Cayde and we could res him. But it wouldn't be our Cayde. It would be the Cayde from wherever this memory is stored, because that memory was stored, you know, 1,600 years ago, 16 centuries ago. So that's a long time of memories and stuff of and interactions that would be an unknown to us, the player. So yeah, this final entry does, or this final what do you call these?
It's technically a recording. You're listening to a voice recording in the game, so.
But would you call these not obituaries? Because that'd be not eulogies. I don't. Last words, I guess, would be the.
Yeah, I guess last words.
This last word recording of Cayde really did feel like a finalization to Cayde, the character.
Yeah. So the last thing we are going to read to end our series on Cayde-6 is the final chapter of the lore book, The Man They Called Cayde, the chapter entitled Bad Beat. And it goes like this. This whole time, I've been trying hard to give you a sense of what matters to me, but also to find a way to talk about the things that scare me. Thing, really, singular. And that thing is loss. Losing. I'm a poor loser, I admit. I run from it. Full speed. Others don't. Others accept it, but everything I said about my queen is true. She is my shield. But she is also a lie. I don't know when I made her up. Or better, I don't know when I decided to believe in a life that I don't know and never truly can know. Was it during this life? Was it my rebirth as a guardian, or the void of everything I was before? What drove me to invent comfort? Possible, even likely, but I'm not sure. I do have flashes of the memory of the life I had before I was a guardian. That's all they are. Flashes. Quick flickers of people and places in my dreams or in that space between a bullet and getting rezzed. I see a woman there. She's all I've ever known of a life long since gone. I feel love for her. Was that love a memory, or am I simply loving the memory? I've convinced myself of the former. I've concocted a truth to make myself whole. The kid, the girl, I don't know them. They're not real. But I wish I did, and I wish they were. They're just the two best cards I could find to keep up my sleeve when the odds were stacked against me. And I made them real in my mind and in my heart. And I fell in love with the idea of them. And I crafted a truth that allowed me to feel. In truth, it was selfish. When I came to for the first time, I felt so alone, broken. My ghost tried to comfort me, but this life felt hollow. So I ran. But the flashes, like daydreams, they promised something more, something other than suffering and war. So I clung to that, and I built my truth, and it made me a better man. Some would dispute that. Some would say that a good man who lies to himself is only good because he hides from the truth. But I disagree. I think in this world, you need to find what is best in you and cling to it. And that's all I did. I found what moved me, and I fought for it. Without Ace, without my queen, to listen to me, to hear me, to see me, there's no telling who I would have become. But I know. And I know there's a chance it wouldn't have been very nice. So that's what I'm offering to you here. A chance. Look at my life. Look at the things I've said, the things I've done. See how the promise of a simpler life and true, pure love, even if it's all just a game, see how it drove me, directed me. And then go find your own. I know this confession isn't as clean as you may like, but then again, it's not a confession. It's a warning. Find the path to your best self and walk it. Because the alternative is a lonely road. Don't you ever forget it. And if you do, well, I may just have to come back and kick your ass. See you later, pal. Signed, Cayde-6. That's the end of that.
So it's not necessarily that Ace and Queen didn't exist, but his current version of them and what he thinks of them and his ideas behind them don't exist.
Yeah.
It's
I think
it's very much a comfort.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
he says as much in this that without them he would have turned into a bad person. Like he would have done bad things or just been lonely, just genuinely lonely for his entire life. So to come back as a guardian and to have something to say, this is what I fight for. And to me that speaks more of like the individual guardian, because again, we always think of guardians like we fight for the light, we fight for the we are guarding the city, but there's got to be something more to it. There's got to be something more to drive the individual on a day-to-day basis to say, oh great, we're fighting more cabal today. Why? For the city? Like shit, there's 30 other guardians over there that'll do that. Why do I have to do it? But to have for Cayde to have that like moral center or that thing to cling on to, and say, this is why I'm fighting for Ace. I'm fighting for my queen. He knows there's a flash there of a memory of something. Doesn't have a name. Doesn't even have a clear picture of it. Just he knows it's there. And to have that as a centering point, I think is definitely something that would help drive him as an individual forward.
Yeah, and that's it sounds like that's what he's done. He's taken that little flash and he's decided that person, that woman, that he has this little flashback of, she was a good, loving person, and I need to make her proud.
Yeah.
Even if that's not at all what she was like, that's what he's decided she was like, because that's what he needed to be able to keep going.
I like it. Sad faces all around. Tears for everyone. But this is not the end of Cayde-6.
It is not, because as we've recently learned.
God dang Bungie trailers and their fucking craziness. We've got what, 3 months till 2 months. 8/22, 8/23.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So about 2 months from now. Holy shit, man. 8 weeks. Okay, I can do this. I can make it through 8 weeks.
Well, you're gonna have to.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, we all are. I guess there's another D game that I can satisfy my time with.
May have been enjoying some time in another
darker, drearier world. Yeah. Okay. Well, so that's Cayde. That's the life and times of Cayde-6. That's his story. That's his ending. Again, I say ending, but it's more like when you see like the end of a trilogy and it goes the end and then just puts a question mark. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll know more in 2 months. Hopefully we'll know more. Otherwise, just going to get a shitload more mysteries that are going to go on for another 6 months after that. So yeah. All right. Well, let's do some shout outs.
Yeah. So a couple shout outs we want to do tonight. The first one coming to us from Apple Podcast Review. Thank you very much for that. It's a very kind 5 stars. So this one comes to us from, it's not really a username, KQU3SO.
Oh God.
Maybe they're going for like Queso. I'm not sure. But regardless, they go on to say, I love the show, guys. I've been playing D2 solo since the start of the Warmind expansion, so I never got to hear the full story of this amazing game. And so I started looking for ways to listen and read and just to please that hunger more for lore. And of course, I ran into Bife on YouTube, and then I found you guys, and from Myth's amazing voices, thank you, and just overall storytelling to Zor's comments and mind-blown moments, which are exactly how I react when I'm listening to this. And then he poses a question to us.
Oh, I like a good question.
Says, if Aisha, and you'll have to forgive me, I think there's maybe some spell check, shenaniganery going on here. But it says, if Aisha and alone removed Oryx's worm, but not keeping it, making her the taken queen, but not actually assumed the mantle.
Oh,
so
like
okay,
Asa,
I think what they're asking,
Asa from the Leviathan.
Yeah, I think they're wondering if Asa took Oryx's worm and maybe that gave her the power over Taken, which is a cool theory.
Because when we go to the deep, the ghost is missing. Or the worm is missing.
The worm is missing.
And
yeah.
the hidden say as much. Yeah.
Now
interesting. Because the worm should have gone down with the ship, right? Like
you would think. Yeah.
Not the ship, not the dreadnought, but the worm was inside of him, and it should have gone down with him. him being the ship. So yeah, unless if he stored it, in his ascendant plane.
I don't think you
before
can
his
store
death.
the worm external to yourself.
I don't think you can either.
So
There's no instance of Hive ever being able to do that. So I presumably it went down with the ship and should be at the bottom of the ocean, but it's not. So I mean, the only entities there that would have had access to it would have been Kelgarath, and all of Zivu Arath's taken forces there, Asa and Sloane. So unless if Sloane's hiding it somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, we still have some story beats of the current season.
We do.
So that could absolutely be a thing. So like Sloane being taken right now may not be of Zivu Arath's doing. It could be of Asa's doing, and she has the power to take now. Because presumably that worm would have the knowledge of, because that's the whole thing of the worm. Like that worm is what's making Oryx the god of knowledge. Like it has to feed on knowledge, or else it just dies.
And Asa's message to Sloane originally was take, live, were just those two words. So like it could have been that that's how Asa has established her mental link with Sloane, is by like partially taking her.
Yeah.
And that's how she's able to actually like communicate beyond, very brief one word sentences.
Ayat. I love that. I love that. That's like,
yeah,
that when I read that, when you read that, when we all read that, I was like, what the fuck is this?
So really interesting theory that Asa might have the worm or might have something to do with it. Alternatively, maybe Shivu, because Shivu found Oryx's corpse before anyone else. Yep. So maybe she found the worm and is, trying to keep it alive or who knows what. So yeah, there's a lot of really interesting possibilities around that.
Got the worm in her own little parasite gun. Little breather
works
machine.
For us.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's Savathun's worm is Savathun's worm, right? That's in Parasite.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I keep getting that one mixed up with the one that was, or no, that is the one in her temple. The one that we go pick up from the statue, and then we fight.
No, the one we pick up. The one we pick up in her statue was from Fundament.
That was the father's familiar.
Her father's familiar.
That's right. That was the one that was talking to her the whole time.
Yeah.
Okay. I always, for some reason, I don't know if I missed a story beat or something during the Witch Queen, but there's a disconnect there for me, and I thought that one was the other, and so now in my head it's cemented that way, and I keep having Myth correct me on it because my squirrel brain doesn't want to let it go. But yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But we're definitely keeping Savathun's worm alive on a rebreather in a gun.
Yeah, essentially.
It's cool. It's neat. It's kind of freaky. I really wish the gun would talk to us.
Yeah.
But she straight up says, she's like, this is the last I'll tell you. And then...
Well, and then they talk during Wellspring.
During Wellspring. I'll tell you more. That's another... that's those three assholes. Her, Asher, and Failsafe. If I could just sit in a room with the three of them bitching at me, that would be a day that I would just be happy.
So they close out their message after their question to us, and just say, "I love this show, so thank you both, and thank you to everyone who helps put this together." Well, that's
everyone
us,
being
so.
Myth. This is a two-man team. It's literally Myth and me. We both do local recordings, and then I submit mine to him. He does all the editing and cuts half of my stuff out because I say shenanigan tomfoolery, and Myth holds all the power. So
I hold the power for as long as it takes Zora to learn how to
shut the hell up,
and that will essentially be forever.
Never. Yeah, we used to have our clan leader help us with it, Eclipse 75. We used to do these on PlayStation Chat, and so he would just hit record, and we'd all just talk and kind of BS for a while. while he played Gambit and did random stuff in the tower. But then when we moved to Discord, we messed around with a bot doing the recordings, and then the bot kind of failed on us a couple times. So then we started doing. That's where we moved to local recordings, and we found out we have a really good quality with that. And Myth takes the time to edit him, and I thank him for that. He does all the work.
I will take that.
He literally does all the work. He does all the research. He finds all the notes for everything. He finds all the lore cards. He's a much better man than I. I'm just here.
About that.
I'm just here to add commentary and random squirrel bullshit and try to connect dots as I go along. And I try to relate to real world stuff. I love doing that connections too. Like when I find things that I found in like history that seems to relate to things that are going on in the game, and I can say, oh, well, this is how it played out in history. We're seeing something similar happen in game, or something sciencey. I love science bits, math, science, history. Those are my top three. Subjects for school.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, thank you for your very kind review and your question. It's definitely a fun one to think about.
I'm excited to see where the story's going these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a feeling.
I know Myth knows something more than I know because he saw something, and I want to know it too. But I'm being patient.
I did. I saw a thing that some others out there may have seen if you were exposed to the leaks either voluntarily or otherwise. But I think probably either this upcoming Tuesday or the Tuesday after, because it's usually about the like 5-6 week mark.
We get
that they drop a big
cutscene.
Yeah, a big story moment. I feel like that's coming soon. So
it's coming in hot.
But so the other shout out I wanted to do tonight is just kind of a general thank you to everybody for our whole audience. We, as of the time of this recording, are sitting at a perfect 5.0 stars on Spotify with a little over 200 reviews, which is insane.
That's awesome.
Thank you guys.
That's fucking awesome. I can't.
Unbelievable. I didn't even know you could get 5.0.
I didn't know that was the thing. I genuinely didn't. Like, we're 80s Mustangs up in here now.
Heck yeah.
No, the 80s, 90s, 80s and 90s. I don't know. I don't remember when the 5.0. The G bodies. See, now you got me thinking Mustangs. Like now and like whatever. Hey, we're starting bonus episode of car. No, we're not doing that.
No, we're not doing that.
All right. But yeah, thank you for that's fucking awesome. That's amazing. To get to a 5.0. That's super cool. All right. Well, I guess I got to give a thank you. Let's see. Oh, I know exactly who I'm going to thank you. All the moms and dads of the city who got together and decided we're going to let Cayde-6 babysit our kid.
And then let him hand it off to Shaq.
That's kind of what I'm getting at here. Like, you already know who Cayde-6 is if you live in the city, and you actively agree to let him watch them, so you know he's not going to.
Yeah.
Thanks for trying to be responsible. Maybe try to make a little bit better choices, because your kids are coming back with bruises. I'm just saying, like, if you can dodge a ball, you can dodge a flaming hammer, and vice versa. So that's what's happening.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for trying to be responsible and running the energy off of kids. Trust me, as a parent, I get it. That's hard as hell to do. Energy for days.
That is a full-time job right there.
It absolutely is. So yeah, thank you, parents of the last city, for doing good by your kids.
Yeah.
Myth, you got anything else, or our little?
Yeah. So if you like what you heard and you want to leave a review, you can do so on your listening platform of choice. If you feel strongly enough and your platform allows it that you want to leave a text review, we welcome you to do so. Or you can reach out to us at our Twitter, which is @Myths and Stories, Z instead of an S. We do monitor that, and you may hear yourself on a future shout out. I will preface, however,
that's right. We do have a thing.
Well, hopefully your thing is the same thing I'm thinking of.
It is
but
the same thing.
I just wanted to let people know again, and we'll put a post out there. Not really going to be monitoring the socials for the next week. We're not going to be recording next week. So there'll be a week break after this episode where there will not be an episode, and then we'll start picking back up again. Just so you are aware.
Alrighty. Well, then from all of us Lore Daddies to all of you Guardians out there, we'll see you next time.